I think Tim Ferriss says that, the degree to which you'll be successful is the degree to which you'll be comfortable having uncomfortable conversations. If that makes sense. The things that are always left hardest to say and bring up with someone normally have the biggest impact. For example, someone who's not quite pulling their weight at work, or someone who you think is not really working on what they should be working on based on like who you see them being as a person. That's a conversation I have with people from time to time. That's not easy. Very hard to go to someone unprompted, unsolicited, hey, what you're spending time on, I think it's not what you should be doing. I think you're actually capable of this, without trying to tell them what to do. Because obviously 18 and Lost, chapter 1, if anyone's read the introduction, sorry, I'm not that sort of person, the whole all advice is bad advice. But at the same time, am I a resource to help give people an awareness of themselves that they don't see? And which is often the case. People don't normally see their full potential. So I think there's that degree of like what's unsaid that really deserves to be said versus what's my raw opinion. What's my raw, unedited, unfiltered opinion that I'm just going to give to you whether you ask for it or not? And some people, I think my late grandfather, I think he was very famous for the latter, for being very raw and just, this is what I think of you, and pissed a lot of people off. But there's also something to be admired for the no bullshit approach, because we certainly need a bit more of that. We're certainly lacking that more than we have too much of it. So, but again, not on Twitter comments, Facebook comments, and YouTube comments. That's the extreme echo chambers of the worst of humanity.
I think we, especially with people that we care about, we might. I mean, the tendency, if it's going to hurt their feelings potentially, we might not bring it up, even if it will benefit them, and even if maybe it's a little bit harsh. For example, if that person's close to you and respects you, then they'll understand in the long run that, you want the best for them. And I think potentially, do you think, Joe, there's different ways you can approach it? Like, it's very difficult to just criticize someone, even if you have the best intentions, as opposed to lightly bringing their attention to something that they're doing, they might be better off doing it a different way. And obviously different people take criticism in different ways, but do you think there's two different approaches in that regard as well?
Yeah, I think how is everything. I think it's not just the medium. It's not just the message, it's the medium is everything. There's so many examples of that. Normally, this is the tough thing with family. Normally, it doesn't work in family. Normally, it's very hard for family members to give one another very different perspective and awareness. You're often too close. You don't look objective. You look like you always have an agenda. And you always it's always better to have external reference points. Because the how is everything. The how is absolutely everything. And you can think about it two ways. Like I heard someone say yesterday, I can't remember if it was on a podcast, but no one's ever really gotten their point across to someone by telling them they were an idiot. People just don't seem to respond to that. Like, no. You shouldn't be doing this way, you should be doing it that way because you're an idiot for doing it this way. But when you say, look, you've put in a lot of effort into this. This was really great, this podcast, Luke. Maybe you should consider doing this to make it even better, but it's up to you. You see how that just changes the energy?
Yeah.
Again, what you were talking about before with that reaction, people are not designed to just quickly take on what someone else says and completely shift what they're doing. Right? We don't completely alter course because of one piece of instruction. We have this natural defense mechanism when we feel like someone's trying to force us to do something. That's why I think the old how to win friends and influence people, the whole point around you got to convince other people it's their idea kind of thing. I've never looked at it that way. I think it's more like you've got to leave people the room and package something up for them in a way that they can approach when they're ready. The example I'd give you is something like dating. The one factor you never control in dating, which is also therefore true of marketing, is timing. If someone's, no matter how great you are, how great they are, if someone's just come out of a relationship, or if someone's just really stressed and anxious at the moment, no matter how good the match is on paper or how simple one date might be, it just might not be the right time. Now, what would you do? Would you force yourself, and try and convince and present a case? Or would you just give that space and retreat and then allow that person to kind of, that could be revisited perhaps down the road? And I think when you're trying to give someone a different perspective, it's kind of the same thing. You see a gap in potential and you want to fill it. And this is very big of education, right? You see a gap in potential, you want to fill it. And so just because you think the other person doesn't get it, you push harder and harder and harder and harder. Really, I think any persistence has to be persistence that comes from love, like which denotes some sort of patience, which is kind of like, I'm here and this is the idea for you, when you're ready.